Oh, hi, everybody. It's a Tuesday evening here, the 23rd of April, 2019. Good evening, everybody. Joe Chaffee on the Joe Chaffee Weather Show. We are in a kind of a quiet mode here. Not that there isn't any weather going on. There always is. But in terms of the geographic impact and the relative severity of it all, this is a bit on the tame side. We have a limited amount of severe weather this evening. In fact, we have one working severe thunderstorm watch, I believe, and that's really about it. And the rest of the nation is enjoying rather quiet weather, as you might have seen by the picture that defined the live stream tonight, the satellite view from this afternoon. We had nice weather, we had very nice weather, we had really nice weather, and we had very, very nice weather in most of the nation in that small area of severe weather. So let's get to it as far as what's happening tonight, and we'll start with SPC's map for today, for this evening, with regards to severe weather. An area of marginal risk, a narrow area of marginal risk of severe weather exists across west central Pennsylvania and southwestern PA, down into a small portion of northern West Virginia and southern Ohio. The echoes that have moved through there have not really been all that impressive so far. I haven't really seen that much in the way of severe thunderstorm warnings, at least as of 7:30 Eastern time. Of course, that could change. And then you've got the area of slight risk in southwest Texas with an embedded severe thunderstorm watch inside of that. And we do have some thunderstorms on the radar right now that look pretty impressive. And a bit of a finger of marginal risk that runs up and through eastern Oklahoma and a small portion of northwestern Arkansas, southwestern Missouri. And that really is about it as far as the severe weather risk is concerned for today. And over the next couple of days, we're going to see this slight risk area shift very, very slowly eastward, mainly along the Gulf Coast, in East Texas tomorrow into Louisiana, and then a little bit further east after that. And beyond that, SPC is really not all that impressed with the severe weather threats going into the end of the week and into the weekend in their long range. They're not surprising us by having a 15% chance or anything in their day 4 to 8 time frame, at least as of today's forecast. And with regards to watches and warnings, I mean, here it is across the country, just to show you how quiet things are. I mean, we do have various flood advisories up with snow melt going on and so on. We do have some flood watches in east central Texas. I guess that's how you would describe that. And in that salmon color, of course, is that severe thunderstorm watch that lays across southwest Texas and runs up to the northeast, almost to about the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Otherwise, the weather on the East Coast is pretty quiet. The weather on the West Coast is fairly quiet. And we don't see any prospects for big storms going forward. We do have weather systems that are going to be moving along. But as far as big storms are concerned, that is they're taking a bit of a break with that. After 3 really strong cyclones in the last couple of weeks, the atmosphere is taking a bit of a breather. So I'm going to start tonight. You know, the Eastern Satellite Loop, the visible loop, the first few frames, you see that sort of hole that existed between the coastal low from yesterday, which has moved on to the east, and the approaching cold front coming in from the west. And my area sat inside that wonderful hole of dry air and sunshine. It was a beautiful day. We saw temperatures well up into the 70s to near 80 in some places, from eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England. Even coastal areas managed to get up above 70 before the sea breezes came in. And now we're seeing some showers that are moving eastward with this cold front. There were a couple of thunderstorms earlier, but the radar is not really all that impressive as far as I'm concerned. But meanwhile, when we look down in into Texas, look at the blow-off clouds there, those big white clouds that just blow up and run out to the northeast. You see them right there they're kind of almost center left in the picture. They stand out in the last 5 or 6 frames. Those are the thunderstorms that are currently blowing up inside that severe thunderstorm watch area. And we're going to take a look at the mesoscale view here, the tools that you can get from SPC. And here's what it looks like surface map wise, that the isobars are pointed like a finger. So there's where your frontal boundary is. And just south of that frontal boundary, we're seeing some heavy thunderstorms and some possible severe thunderstorms here showing up in a cluster back through west central Texas and then going on down into the southwest. I'll put the watch box up, and there it is in blue. So that's where the severe thunderstorm watch is, and those thunderstorms are pretty much lining up inside the watch area. It looks like we do have there's one small warning. There are actually 2 warnings in play right now. Those 2 small boxes that you see inside the severe thunderstorm watch box. So please remember, if you're watching this on a replay, obviously this is dated. It's 7:35 Eastern Time. So if your area is experiencing severe weather, you want to make sure you get the latest radar and the latest information regarding any watches and warnings by going to your local National Weather Service forecast page, and you can find that by going to weather.gov. And actually, this severe thunderstorm watch was expanded southwestward because we have, if you use this site, by the way, if you just run your mouse over the SPC products column, you can pull up the watches in the small window in each discussion. But this was the original severe thunderstorm watch, and this one was added to it. So they've actually backed it a bit further to the southwest. In fact, it just pops up now on the screen. So they've expanded that particular severe thunderstorm watch essentially further west into West Texas. Now, in the Northeast, looking at what's going on here, we don't have anything regarding any severe weather that we've seen so far. There are some scattered strong cells now into northern West Virginia and back into parts of southern Ohio and into northeastern Kentucky. That is inside that marginal risk zone, but these storms are going to have to peak out pretty quick now going into sunset, and the daytime heating will be cut off. And meanwhile, the northern part of this that impacts my area has weakened considerably. There's one little batch of showers that are left that are moving across northern New Jersey and lower Hudson Valley, and maybe clipping parts of Long Island in the next couple of hours. And after that, it's done. And we've got some heavier showers and possibly some embedded thunderstorms in there in upstate New York, up the middle and upper Hudson Valley, and on up into north central New York, and that is pushing to the east. Here's what it looks like. We'll take the go to WPC surface map, and we'll start down in Texas way. And of course, the warm sector is pretty solid here. Dew points climbing up into the mid and upper 60s. Temperatures generally in the mid 70s. So you got a pretty humid situation here. It's not overly extreme, but it's enough. And we actually even have, just looking back out to the west, we do have a few temperatures that have jumped up into the 80s, but not many. Most temperatures are in the mid to upper 70s. And those 70s push all the way up into Oklahoma and into parts of Arkansas. The dew points up here are a little lower, upper 50s and low 60s. And we had some 80-degree readings up in parts of Kentucky and Tennessee and down through Alabama and Georgia. But the dew points are in the low 50s, so it's pretty comfortable. Florida into the 80s today, a beautiful day in Florida for the most part, other than some patchy high clouds. And then, of course, we had our nice weather. Here's the front that is approaching. This was as of 5 p.m., so it's a little bit further along. Behind it, you look at the temperatures ahead of it and behind it, there's not a big difference. There's a little bit of cooler air behind this front, and that'll be settling in for Wednesday into Thursday into the Northeast. So we've covered it from the standpoint of the surface. Here's how it looks from the wide radar view, starting with the Northeast. The showers here, a few heavier showers in there, 1 or 2 thunderstorms. But again, this area is weakened quite a bit from what it was a bit earlier. It was a lot stronger when it was moving through northern Pennsylvania, northwestern PA, and into western New York. This front then kind of tails off down into northern West Virginia. And then as we go further west, we have some storms that are developing in south of St. Louis and in southern Illinois, northwestern Kentucky, with some showers back in western Missouri. Looks like near Kansas City, getting some showers, and then running back into southwest Kansas. And here's that area in Texas really kind of blossoming out rather nicely here with these showers and thunderstorms inside the severe thunderstorm watch area. Further west, we've got some shower activity going on in the southwest today and some thunderstorms. A little bit of turning here going on. So there's a short wave. There's a little upper low and a short wave that is moving through there, providing the dynamics for the showers and the developing thunderstorms to the east. Up in the northwest, it's fairly quiet in California. A few showers of rain and possibly some snow up in the mountains in northwestern Montana. So no big storms here. Again, relatively weak systems as we move along. So here's how it's going to play. The overall pattern is one where we're getting weather systems moving along from west to east. So this time of year, that's really a good thing, even though it means that you're going to have a cold front coming through every couple of days, and each of the fronts will probably produce some showers. They keep going. I would much rather have that than have to deal with a high to the north with an onshore flow and some a very deep, slow-moving cyclone like we had to deal with from last Friday into yesterday, which basically took 4 days out of our lives to play out. And this time of year, you can just wind up getting stuck inside miserable weather for a long stretch of time. At least this way, they come in, they move through, and they're done. The showers with the front coming through now, happening during the evening and early nighttime hours, they're gone, so that by tomorrow we get this dry air. It looks like another nice day. Kind of a repeat performance of today, I think, in terms of sky conditions. It should be pretty nice. A little bit on the breezy side, but partly to mostly sunny, and temperatures that are going to be in the 60s to maybe some spots getting up above 70. Real nice spring day with a nice breeze. Can't really complain too much about that. And then we, of course, see our severe weather area shift for tomorrow as it moves further east into Texas, and then eventually moves across the lower Gulf states. We're not dealing here with a big developing low that's coming out of the southern plains that's going to impact the east. If you look closely at this surface map view, you have that low in the south, but you also have a new cold front dropping down from the northern plains, and it's starting to takes a little bit of definition here, producing some showers up in parts of the upper peninsula of Michigan into Wisconsin, and then it kind of tails back into southern Minnesota, northern Iowa. So that front, and the southern and northern parts of the jet stream, going to try and hook up to some degree. We'll examine it on the upper air, but my thinking is that Thursday, a little bit of energy is going to try to run out ahead. You can see it here in the Ohio Valley Wednesday night into early Thursday morning, and then it kind of gets squashed as it moves toward New Jersey, Delaware, and Maryland. Certainly there'll probably be clouds with that, but the cloud line might get cut off not too far to the north in central New Jersey, or even back to about New York City. So areas from there north may have more sun than anything else. And then eventually I think the clouds are going to take over. That first system just kind of minors out, and now we bring the next energy in for Friday. And this is a front with a wave that develops on it, so we'll likely get some rain showers, and maybe some areas could wind up with a thunderstorm. I don't think this is going to be any kind of big severe weather producer, even in the southeast. I think there'll probably be some thunderstorms with this, but I don't know if there's enough time to get those dew points up where you would like them to be. Unlike the system last week, which was pretty dynamic aloft, this one is less so. So then this front comes through on Friday. We get these showers out of the way. Now, of course, watch in the northern plain, in the Rockies and northern plains at the end of the week. By Saturday, you've got a low that's coming down, and running through Nebraska and Iowa. And it's actually going to produce some snow in parts of Wisconsin and Minnesota. I don't know that it amounts to much, but there's not a whole lot of cold air at this time of year, although the GFS kind of gets a bit bullish here as we head into Saturday night into southern parts of Wisconsin and northern Illinois and through the Great Lakes. I haven't really looked at this too closely. There's a fairly strong shortwave with this, so it wouldn't be a total shock if it winds up producing some accumulating snows in these areas for later Saturday into Saturday night. Here in the east, after what should be a decent day on Saturday, we've got another cold front coming through, and that is going to probably produce a few showers on Sunday as it goes by. It doesn't look like it's a big deal, and then a shot of quote-unquote chilly air comes in for Monday to start off next week as we begin to wrap up the month of April and head into May. Now, going forward, one of the things that we're going to have to watch, if the pattern as we get into the beginning of May goes to one that would favor it turning warmer in the east, and you can kind of see it beginning here on the surface as we are in the last days of April and going into the 1st of May, one of the things you're going to have to watch for is somewhere there will be a frontal boundary, and where is it going to be? So it's fine and dandy to have a ridge in the east, but this time of year you have to always worry about the fact that there'll be some kind of a warm front setting up somewhere or a stationary frontal boundary where the flow is onshore-ish to the north of that frontal boundary, and you're kind of seeing the GFS showing it here for those first days of May. It wants to push it to the north, but it's very tricky. The models sometimes will overdo ridges in situations like this, and you wind up with sitting in low clouds and rain for a few days. And that's one of the dangers here in the springtime, is that the upper air pattern might say to you, yeah, it looks like it's going to warm up, but you have to be leery of systems coming down either from eastern Canada or sometimes up through the Great Lakes, and suddenly you've got a weather front and a frontal boundary that is set up on top of you, and that warm air becomes elusive. It's one of these deals where, yeah, it'll be in the 80s in Virginia, it'll get into the 80s maybe into southern New Jersey, but then from New York, northern New Jersey, northeastern Pennsylvania, north and east, it's clouds, rain, drizzle, and temperatures in the 50s. And you kind of, you see hints of it here. So I don't know how it's going to all go down in the last analysis. But what we're looking at in terms of the upper air is the flow. Well, let's go first back. Let's back. Of course, you can always see the difference between a wrapped up. This was the system, of course, for the weekend, and we know what happened to that. And then we know what happened yesterday with the upper low and the surface low becoming vertical right off the New Jersey coast. And then now out it went. Here comes the short wave that's bringing the front through tonight. And now you've got the neck. Here's that southern stream short wave producing the severe weather tonight in Texas, and then further east for tomorrow and Thursday. Hooks up with that northern stream trough. Not the most impressive system in the world. It gets through. There's one right behind it. This is for Sunday that swings on through, and that's got this shot of chilly air for Monday into Tuesday of next week. And now you see your ridge trying to pop up here. And how strong does it get? Where's the actual axis of the ridge? You look at this upper air, it does signal that warmer air is going to be coming into the eastern states. But if you look closely, at least on the GFS, there's a shortwave trough there from Wisconsin down toward St. Louis. You can kind of see it there. See it on the map here. There's a bit of an indentation. And, of course, this deep trough is developing down in the west in response to the ridge building in the east. Well, that shortwave, what kind of impact is that going to have on the ridge in the east? Is it going to dent it a bit? Is this what causes perhaps some kind of frontal boundary to set up along, say, 40 degrees north, where areas north of there are in the soup and areas south of there are enjoying some very warm weather? We'll see. But there is, it seems to me that the ridge in the east idea is going to come for This would be the week of Sunday's April 28th. So starting Sunday into Monday, April 28th, 29th. So you're going to start to see this ridge building after next Monday and carry us through much of next week before it tries to get dented by some kind of system coming out of that western trough. And there it goes. It pops up again as we go into the days around May 6th, 7th, and 8th. And I think what we're going to see overall, trough in the west, ridge in the east, attempts to put together a few warm days back to back, but that is going to, of course, be driven by short-range developments with regards to, as we've been saying, frontal boundaries, backdoor fronts, and so on. And that is an issue for next week when we get there. I just want to bring up the severe weather risk area for tomorrow. And here's what SPC is doing with regards to tomorrow. Slight risk in much of south and southeast Texas, marginal risk extending into Louisiana. And then as we move into day 3, which is Thursday into Friday, we have a small area of slight risk in southeast Louisiana, southern Mississippi, marginal risk going up into central Mississippi and the rest of the state of Louisiana and part of southwestern Alabama. And after that, days 4 through 8, the SPC has on their map no areas of severe weather being shown. Of course, that could, they could change that going forward, but I'm thinking they probably won't. Maybe you'll see Friday, for example, maybe you'll wind up with marginal risks in the southeast with that approaching cold front. Not impossible. And they're looking through the weekend into next week, and they're not seeing any risk at this point. When you've got these relatively fast-moving systems where it doesn't involve some kind of well-developed cutoff cyclone like we saw this past weekend, it's going to limit the geographic extent of severe weather that develops. That's not to say we can't have some rough severe weather and some severe thunderstorms and possible tornadoes in the mix. We certainly could, but they're going to be confined to small areas and not necessarily covering a dozen states on any given day. So here's WPC, the Weather Prediction Center's rainfall forecast map. Concentration in that area where we see the severe weather risk showing rainfall amounts of several inches or more. Much of the rainfalls east of the Rockies, the liquid precipitation amounts are on the order of a half inch to as much as an inch and a half, inch and 3/4, some 2-inch pocket amounts as you get up into upstate New York and in through northern New England and up into Maine, which would make sense with these weather systems, the one tonight, and of course then the one for Friday, and then the one for Sunday. More of the precip is going to fall up further north than further south, and the rainfall amounts getting down to about a half an inch to an inch when you reach my neck of the woods and going down into parts of northern into Virginia. Nothing doesn't appear to be much in the way of excessive rainfall with regards to the east. The west is relatively tame. You've got some action going on in the Rockies and some rains in the plains extending into the Great Lakes. But we're not seeing anything super crazy at this point. So let me bring myself up here. We'll get full screen for a little bit and join you on the board. Hope everybody had a great day. I certainly did. Got a little bit of sun this morning. The waters in the Pacific, says Chuck Cardillo, are not as warm, so maybe the hurricane season will be near normal. Now, Chuck, I checked it about a week ago. I'm glad you reminded me because I've been meaning to go take a look. I happened to notice that there was some kind of in this weak El Nino state that we're in. I did notice that the waters off South America extending northward toward Panama had suddenly gone below average. Now, I want to go back and look to see if that trend is continuing because that might be a signal that the El Nino has reached its peak. I would defer to the folks that work on this stuff on a regular basis. I'm just looking at this. My experience with it is relatively minimal compared to those who are immersed in this sort of stuff every day. But it seemed to me that the water temperatures off the coast of South America are cooling, and cooling fairly quickly. Now, whether that spreads out northward remains to be seen. But if that is the case, then that would possibly have an impact on the Atlantic hurricane season. Right now, most of the forecasts that I've seen have been forecasting an average or maybe slightly above average in terms of total storms. But if you take the El Nino and weaken it and taking it out of the equation, that might, juice it up just a little bit. So it'll be something that we'll be following in the coming weeks. It's a little bit too early. I mean, we're still at April 23rd. We're a good 6 weeks away from the start of hurricane season in the Atlantic. The Pacific hurricane season starts in 22 days, so 3 weeks away from the start of the hurricane season in the Pacific. The El Nino should cause the Pacific hurricane season to get off to a rather fiery start. We'll see if it does. But if the ocean water temperatures there are beginning to cool, and if the El Nino is going to go away, what is possible is that you could see a quick start, and then maybe it slows down as we get deeper into the season. You start to get into June and July and into August. But this is all open speculation on my part. I don't have any, I don't have a real feel on this one way or the other. But something we're going to watch. Beautiful day, Chris Alley. It certainly was bright and sunny for quite a while today. Hardly a cloud in the sky. It really was nice and well deserved, by the way. Snowy 23. Having lived in Texas, in South Texas, back many years ago, tornadoes, black widows, and tropical hookworms. Also, don't forget fire ants. When I was down there, fire ants were a big deal, and they hurt. They hurt in a big. They hurt in a very big way. Amy Hogan, rivers running high with all the snow melt. Scott Briller's been pointing out about the streak going on in Caribou, Maine, and I have a regular on my Facebook page in Caribou, and he sent me a message today regarding this streak that they've been on. Of course, they've had in Caribou. It's the third snowiest winter on record, and he messaged me today. Henry Furtek did, and thanks, Henry, by the way. He said this was the snow depth early Monday morning at Caribou had finally dropped to below an inch to a trace. At 163 days, Caribou has set a record streak for consecutive days of 1 inch or more of snow on the ground, with 1 inch or more on the ground from November 10th to April 21st. And the previous record was 155 days that was set in 2002-2003. Caribou seasonal snowfall was 164.7 inches. That is roughly 14 feet, by the way. And it's the third snowiest on record. The record was 197.8 inches. And that was set in 2007-2008, which was a winter that was not really a good one for snow in the coastal areas where I am, New Jersey, New York City, and Long Island. And second place is 181.1 inches in 1954-55. And very likely that Caribou will finish the year in third place. Yeah, it doesn't seem like you'd be able to squeeze out another 15 inches to take out number 2 at this point, but certainly has been quite a winter, especially in central and northern Maine, but not in coastal Maine, down near Portland and areas along the coast. Had to wait very late in the winter season to play some catch-up, and they didn't catch up a whole lot. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. They didn't catch up a whole lot with regards to their total snowfall. I know, Scott, you missed the plumes. Well, the plumes are not really all that useful right now so they're useful in the wintertime, but not right now. Paul Roman, do hurricanes affect inland areas like upstate New York as bad at times as the coast with winds and rain? Well, there are instances, Paul, in New England where storms, as they move up, become extratropical and have big impacts. Agnes in 72 was one that brought where records in Pennsylvania, for example, still stand. 20 all-time rainfall, 24-hour rainfall amounts of almost 20 inches. A lot of the records go back to Hurricane Agnes, and there have been a number of hurricanes that have transitioned over to extratropical form that have brought heavy rains up in through upstate New York, along with strong gusty winds. But usually, how the storms behave when they reach our latitude is a lot different from how they behave when they're making landfalls, say, in the southeast United States, in Florida, and in the Gulf Coast. They're not quite the same in terms of structure. And we saw that in Sandy as it made the transition over into a post-tropical system, which was a technical transition. It didn't change what the impacts were going to be in terms of the storm surge. The strongest winds, rather than being concentrated near the center, diminished, but the area of gales expanded. So you had this really, instead of having a tight area where you have your 50-knot winds and your 75-knot winds or higher, you have, gales maybe going out a couple of hundred miles. You wind up with a storm that's spread out like a winter-type cyclone, where you have gales going out many hundreds of miles in all directions, and you have a large belt of 60 and 70 knot winds that covers also a few hundred miles, and it just sort of spreads out. So you don't have 150 mile an hour winds, but near the center in a small area, but instead you have a much larger area of lower but still very strong winds. And those storms usually make that transition as they move northward up the East Coast. There's still a little bit of snow cover here in New Jersey. You have a couple of snowballs in the freezer. Yeah, Ethan, that's about the place where you'd have to keep them, and you're going to take them out on the 4th of July. Yeah, if you that's been done. It's a lot of fun. Road trips for me in the summer, I haven't really gotten to that point yet. I do have actually one camping trip scheduled for the second week of July. I'm going to be upstate up in the Alleghenies for a week. So mark that down. That might be a week where live streaming for me is going to be a bit tough, because I believe where I'm going, as of a couple of years ago, the signals there, the cell signals were very, very weak, and you had to kind of drive into the town at the local Starbucks to get any kind of signal, even just to make a phone call. But I'm going to bring my stuff up there. If it winds up that I have to run into town to do a live stream every once in a while, then so be it. All right, so I think that covers it for tonight. Thanks very much for being here. Let me just really quick, if you want to become part of a more, let's call it an expanded weather experience, I do have a subscription platform on Patreon, and here's the link to that. It's just $2 a month, folks, and that $2 goes a long way. We do get a lot of extra weather stuff every day on that platform. Plus, you can message me at any time, and I usually try to get back to you with a timely response. Amy Hogan, thank you very much for being here, and everybody, of course, thank you all for being here. Johnny Quest, yeah, Irene gave you big flooding, brought heavy rains and wind and tidal flooding here too. But we, like I said, we do extra coverage on Patreon, so you might want to consider that if you're weather geeky, okay? I know it's kind of a downtime at the moment, weather-wise, but eventually it will pick up. And when we get to hurricane season, there's going to be extra stuff that I'll do for Patreon members that I'm not really going to do for everybody else. So do consider it. And of course, one great easy way to support my channel is just if you shop on Amazon. Actually, that is the wrong link. Hang on, let me get that. Let me take this off. Hang on. It's not letting me. That's not it. I'm not doing well tonight. Hang on, folks. All right, the easiest way is just get rid of this. Okay, so as I said, the easy way to do this is if you shop on Amazon is to do it through my Amazon link. You don't have to. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but if you use the search bar and search for your stuff, you can get your stuff, and Amazon throws me back a little bit of coin. I get a couple of cigars out of this, and we're a participant in the Amazon Services LLC program, which is an affiliate advertising program designed to provide a means for us to earn fees by linking to Amazon.com and its affiliated sites. So thanks again for being here. We're going to try the Joe and Joe Weather Show on Facebook at 9:25. If you're not on Facebook, not to worry. I usually upload it onto YouTube right after the show is done. Last night, Facebook was having technical issues, so I had to wait till this morning to do it, but it will get there eventually. Have a great evening, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow.